the pop culture field manual.
Welcome, everybody, to the Pop Culture Field Manual podcast, sitting right at the intersection of weapons, action, the military, and pop culture. I feel like we haven't said that in a long time. I feel like if you've been listening to this podcast for any length of time, you already know that we are constantly sitting at the intersection of weapons, action, the military, and pop culture. So let's just get right into it, folks. Today, we're talking to Chad Michael Collins. He is the star of the Sniper film franchise. The Sniper film franchise has been going on since 1993. The original one starred Tom Berenger and Billy Zane. And then it has since gone on to spawn, I think, 10 films in total, with the latest one, Sniper Grit, G.R.I.T, releasing on Netflix soon. Yes, Chad? Is that happening pretty soon?
Yeah, I mean, the last one released on Netflix after we had a broad release on, VOD and Blu-ray and stuff like that. So
nice.
Hopefully that's coming around the corner.
All right, cool. Nice. Okay. Hopefully soon. Probably by the time you hear this, it'll be out now, but it's an interesting franchise that has spanned many years, and we were happy to have Chad Michael Collins join us to talk about that and maybe a few other things, because I know you've had a fun career, especially when it comes to the nerdly video gaming culture and stuff too. So Chad, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be on here, and I look forward to sharing some fun anecdotes with you, and maybe nerding out a little bit about some shared mutual nerdy hobbies.
Yeah,
well, you're in the right spot, my friend. Like Izzy said, thanks for being here, man. I know we have a ton of questions, and I think let's just start at the beginning. I mean, not when you were born or anything. If you want to go that far, we totally can talk. Well, I guess we can start out with in LA. So where are you from? And then how did you find yourself, getting into acting? Was it on purpose? Was it a complete accident? Tell us a little bit about the beginning, or where the Chad Michael Collins legacy began.
Yeah, total accident, if I can make myself insufferable with some wordplay there. I grew up in a very small town upstate New York, like 2,500 people. So kind of had that, farms and apple pie Americana, existence sort of thing. Never acted a day in my life.
Yeah,
of course, when one of the only people in my family to go to school and college. So I did journalism at Ithaca College, and then I took advantage of a program that they had where there's a bunch of LA alumni kind of working in the entertainment and film industry. And so I spent my last semester of school there, and I worked with a Hollywood publicist. So entertainment PR is kind of where, the journalism skills sort of translated. So I became an intern there, turned quickly into an assistant position. So I was kind of thrown right into the deep end of the entertainment industry in LA, and I was very fortunate to be able to go to the Paramount lot and, the green room with the Tonight Show. We worked with a lot of TV and film actors. Still had no inkling to act, obviously. But as I was kind of working in the industry and working with so many actors and agents and managers and studio people promoting projects, some people put some stuff in my ear, hey, have you ever thought about taking a class? If you ever do, let me know what you think. And I was like, oh, shoot, well, I'll try it on for size. I'm obviously grew up a big fan of, what we all grew up on in the 80s and 90s and action movies and everything else too. And I was really into Band of Brothers, watching that for the fifth time. And I said, that is so cool, man. Even if I could, just kind of, that just seems like a level of playing pretend that just speaks to my heart, being a G.I. Joe fan and loving all the action movies and military movies that I do. So it was just really dipping my toe in the water. I was working as an assistant and associate at a small PR firm. And I just took acting classes, as they came up, as I had the interest. And I really enjoyed it. It was really, really a fun way. Because I think that if you come up through sports, like I always have, there's always a mental component, and obviously there's the physical component. And acting kind of spoke to me in that way, and that there's words on a page and you get some detective work and subtext and find creative ways to play that. But then there's a physicality that comes through it as well. So I really gravitated towards it. I liked it I was able to kind of approach it as a hobby that I had fun with, as I could invest in it slowly over time. And got a couple of, like, I guess, nice breaks for what little experience that I had with a movie called Lake Placid 2. And, long story short, that eventually flipped into the Sniper franchise reboot for Sony. They had done, like you said, they had done 3 movies. Tom Berenger's the lead, legendary sniper Thomas Beckett. They kind of shelved it after a number of years, and then the producer of Lake Placid 2 wanted to, kind of throw it back out there and see if they could kind of reboot this franchise. And I ended up playing the son of legendary sniper Thomas Beckett, Tom Berenger, and so I got to go off to South Africa and do a movie with Billy Zane, and that's really when the light bulb went off, and I said, "This is fun. It's afforded me amazing opportunities. I got a lot to learn and a lot of room to grow, but I think I'm all in." So, for the next 7-8 years, just tried to work on, the craft and understand the business of acting more and more, while also holding down the 50, 60-hour a week day job. So it was a bit of a grind, but I've been pretty fortunate to be a full-time actor for the last, 7 or 8 years. And, knock on wood, despite 2020 and despite a 6-month actor strike, we're still here making it work. So I'm very grateful.
That's amazing. It's funny because telling your story here in just a couple of minutes that you've shared it doesn't even begin to cover like you say all the grinding that you did, but it's not an unheard of story, because I feel like that's a lot of actors' story. They get the itch, or they get the opportunity, and then they commit and they go for it. And so congratulations, man. You are, to say you're a working actor, that's no small feat.
Yeah, it's not lost on me. And I feel like, I think one of the key things that kind of helped me was that, a lot of actors come out here and they did the whole thing. They did theater when they were younger. They got their theater degree from a prestigious college, and they're all in LA on the acting experience. And of course, it's got to put a lot of pressure on you, especially financially, in an expensive city, in a very competitive industry. And I was pretty fortunate to be able to learn so much about the business, make relationships in the business, kind of treat acting as like a really fun hobby, that if I got traction or if I got a yes once in a while, it was just kind of icing on a cake I was already building. So I didn't have to come in from desperation. I could kind of ease my way into it, because it wasn't all my hopes and dreams in one basket. So I think that really helped me, take it easy and not be so hard on myself, and, just kind of have a bit of an emotional detachment to outcomes. And I think that was a great mental model that I kind of instilled in myself, that, if you're all in and this is your dream and this is why you're in LA and you staked your whole life on this, a no is devastating, right? But this is an industry that's 99% no's. So it's like being a door-to-door salesman. So you kind of have to develop the framework and the mindset behind it. And I think that was something I was able to luckily take in. And, it wasn't easy working 2 full-time jobs, building an acting career, but anything, worth doing is worth earning. And you get into it you get out of it what you put into it, rather. So it's fun, and we're still doing it, and, very fortunate. And, but as you guys probably know, each year is its own separate animal. There's highs, there's lows, there's feast, there's famine, there's a strike, there's a global pandemic. Who knows, And so it's really, it's fun. But having put time in the office and having the variety of an acting career, even if it is a lot of cricket sometimes, I prefer the variety of an acting career rather than the doldrums of an office. So, it's good to be clear on what you want.
Absolutely. I think, I can speak for Izzy and myself when, having that mindset to where it's like, I'm going to achieve this, or I am going to literally kill myself in the process trying to make it happen.
No plan B.
Yeah, there is no absolute plan B. So I respect that a lot, that you said that, there's a commonality between, everyone thinks like veterans is all this, being a veteran is like this super special thing. And it just gives you a set of skills, right? That at the bottom line, it just gives you a level of resilience that allows you to, accept those no's and just kind of wipe your cheek off and take another punch. So that's great. But I wanted to ask you, because I'm super curious, man. You have been a part of a franchise of movies that, started off in 1993. And I remember, I was born in 95, so I'm a younger guy. And yeah, you're asking yourself, why does Izzy hang around with young kids? That's probably a question you should ask him behind closed doors. But I remember going to Walmart before I joined the military and going sifting through the DVD box that were like $1. Each DVD was like $1, and I had the Sniper movie on DVD, and I remember that was like my Bible before joining the military. For you to be involved in such to me, a prestigious franchise, and then you didn't come from a military background, so you had to learn a lot about because in the military being an infantry guy is so different than being in the long range surveillance and shooting world. Like I came from the Ranger Regiment and then went to a reconnaissance section, and that was shared with a sniper section. And
Mhm.
like I had to relearn everything. So for me, that was a huge challenge. So for someone like you going into like the military space, how did you find learning all that military terminology, acronyms, for example? There's a billion
Right.
different acronyms. Did you find that challenging? How did you go about that, like learning all the terminology and how the weapon systems work? Did you get with a trainer? How did you go about doing that, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and a fun segue we just had as a military chopper kind of flew really low here, which probably picked up out of my microphone.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I didn't come from. I never served, in the military. I was a couple of signatures away from joining the Air Force in college because I'm like, GI Bill, this sounds great.
Oh yeah,
The
probably would
student
have
loan
been a
debt
good
doesn't
time.
sound great, so it almost happened. And I had plenty of aunts, uncles, grandfathers served in Korea, Air Force all over the place, Army, infantry, so I kind of had that grounding. So many of my family were, servicemen and women. So I had always had a respect for that and everything else too. And I've always been fascinated with it just as a kid, and with the movies I grew up with the media I consumed, with the toys I love to play with. GI Joe's, still my number one favorite toy of all time.
Yeah.
Not Ninja Turtles close second, but Joe all the way. So really it was for me. I think the one thing that I learned, because I grew up in the countryside. I grew up in the rural parts of upstate New York. So I was always consciously taught how to shoot guns and firearms, rifles, shotguns, hunting, all the things that kind of come with that. That was very big in our extended family. Even Thanksgiving was recently. We used to have a tradition where literally all the uncles, fathers, grandfathers, cousins, we'd all be out in the woods by 5:30 a.m. and we'd be done with our hunting trip, hopefully with a deer to string up in the front yard by the time
Yeah.
noon rolled around and Thanksgiving really began. So
Wow.
I was always comfortable with those sort of things, and obviously those sort of people as family, but never having any real hands-on experience myself. I think one of the things that I always learned is as I was trying to learn more about acting is to be humble. And when you've got people who know what they're doing, when you've got wonderful military, veterans, technical advisors that were provided for on set, I always, even to this day, I just pretend like I've never held a gun in my life. It's really that humility of saying, all right, I want to pay, proper respect and homage to the people who do it for real. I don't want to F this up. You've done it for real. Walk me through this as if I don't know what a safety is. And, there's no machismo here because we're representing something in a group of people bigger than us. And so that's kind of the thing, adding on some range time, really, really being able to play and to shoot a little bit. You can never replace the basic training and the years of experience that people put into this who live it for real. But I think there's a respect there and a humility there that I've always tried to approach it with, to portray it as accurately as possible, knowing that we got to stick a little movie magic in there once in a while, and it's not going to be it's not going to be perfect. So it's a skill set that I just always hope to kind of layer on, and one experience I can kind of take that previous knowledge with me into another. But what you're trying to do for different projects is, in Call of Duty, for instance, I play CIA SAD. And so that sort of training and that sort of, that sort of squad, I think he was like Delta Force before he went into all that, as opposed to in the sniper movies, Brandon Beckett, the character I play, he started as an infantry Marine, then he kind of segued into sniping like his father. And so it's all different walks. And I know there's different schools, and I know there's different, even amongst the different branches of the military, they have a very different way of doing it and how they train you. So just being an open book and a sponge, I think has, really helped here. And unfortunately, we don't have the $100 million budgets to, to do like a 13 hours where Michael Bay sends everybody away for like a 4-week boot camp. Unfortunately, we
Right.
don't have that. We're kind of doing the best we can on the fly,
Yeah.
with a much lower budget and none of that kind of, shortcut training, so to speak. So the day to day, just being open and just being attached to the hip to the people who really know what they're doing has always been a helpful tool for me.
That's cool, man. So you've on each one, you do at least have like some sort of technical advisor. Is it the same guy? Have you worked with the same guy, or does it kind of change around a little bit?
It changes because we do so many of these films, internationally. So it's about who's available and everything else too. But we worked with a fellow named Patrick, Patrick Garrity. He was a former Marine, U.S. Scout sniper, and we had him on a couple of films. We've had all sorts of people. Obviously, if we shoot in a different country, there's going to be military technical advisors, representing that end of things as well. And I think it's all really valuable to learn from all the different schools and different experiences. And even the TV shows, like being, on an NCIS, you're going to have a different kind of technical advisor that comes from the Navy. And, we've had technical advisors that have served in foreign militaries and stuff like that. And it's pretty cool to see the nuances and the difference. And, even when we were filming Call of Duty, we were lucky enough to work with some really high level Navy SEALs as technical advisors. And they were kind of working with each character's unique background. So me being American and former CIA SAD, that's different than what a freedom fighter, kind of in the Middle Eastern theater is going to look like. So, it's really going to be subject to the different styles and the different training that they would have. So it's really cool. It's very interesting. And I find it incredibly, fascinating. But like I said, I always think humility is the best approach for this, and then take as much time on my own to kind of add to the skills, learn the skills, and so on.
No, I think that's a really good point. Just because I have a lot of SEAL friends, I have some MARSOC buddies. I have some friends that are currently serving in Delta Force, and I just did a trip this weekend with a bunch of SEALs, training a couple guys, and the way they do things is so different than the way I would do things. So I'm glad you brought that up, because everyone assumes like all the training is flat across the board. But
Right.
Obviously SEALs have different mission sets, like getting on boats and stuff. And as a Ranger, I never did that. It's a lot of confined spaces. We're working big open airfields and, direct action versus, maritime stuff and hostage rescue. They all have their different ways of accomplishing them. So I think that's I think that's something that's not talked about enough, is like how different each branch's special operations training is and how that translates to, making a product like the Call of Duty series. I think that's pretty cool, that you guys actually follow that.
It's really cool. And I remember when I had the opportunity to do the sniper movie back in 2010 for the first time. And, I read the book about Carlos Hathcock, the famous kind of sniper that they based the original character from the original sniper movie on. And, all the 76 or whatever confirmed kills he had. And, he was a legendary, like, 1 shot, 2 kills guy, apparently. In I think it was Vietnam. Or
Yeah.
something.
Carlos Hathcock.
Yeah. Reading those books. I was also watching a lot of documentaries about, sniper school and how incredibly difficult that is because of the field craft and the arithmetic and everything else that goes into it. It's not just pointing and shooting. It's so much about these other skill sets and just learning that that's one of the hardest schools to get through, for that reason, with a really high washout rate, and just kind of really understanding, what it takes mentally, because what we're going to represent the most, hopefully, if we're doing our jobs well as actors, is we're going to represent hopefully the mental component. Hopefully we physically look the part and can kind of sell that with the technical stuff. But I mean, look, I don't need to hit a broadside of a barn from a mile away in these movies, So it's really trying to understand the mindset and, what it is to be that kind of a thinking man soldier, and to have all this sort of stuff in the back of your mind. So being able to work with people who've done it for real, can help kind of fill in those blanks for you, and, do the Hollywood shortcut at least.
That's awesome, man. Let me ask you something about the tone of the Sniper franchise, in total. Cause like it starts off, Sniper, it's real hardcore, like serious down the line. Like he's a military guy. And even when you came into it with Reloaded, like you're a Marine and you're playing everything like real straight. As the years have gone by, I know, especially since like Oliver Thompson has been involved, the tone has kind of changed into more kind of like, it's fun. I'd say fun is like a good word for it. There's like there's a more of an ensemble kind of component to it as well. You got Zero and you got Lady Death and those kinds of people in it. How do you feel about how the franchise has kind of evolved from like your perspective playing kind of the central character in all these films?
Yeah, you're right. And for those that are less familiar, this is the Sniper Grit, which was released at the end of September, was the 10th installment in the Sony Sniper franchise overall, which is, right behind the Fast and Furious, which is bonkers.
Yeah,
But
you're getting there. You're
very
giving
different movie.
Dom Toretto
But
a run for his money there, buddy.
yeah, but you're right. They used to be a little bit more sober, a little bit more, serious, and really, hardcore, military oriented and focused with missions and the stakes and everything else too. And Oliver Thompson, who's written and directed the last three, and he's directed the last two, including Sniper Grit that's come out. But we have incorporated a bit of a team element. That's Grit, Global Response and Intelligence Team. So to have some recurring characters coming back has led to a lot of banter, some Butch and Sundance kind of moments, some gallows humor here and there, and he's got just a great sensibility coming from some of the films he's done. He's got a great sense of humor, and he kind of writes dialogue according to that. So fun is an apt description. I call it popcorn. So he kind of infused a much more like pop entertainment, popcorn sentiment into the heavy action. The shootouts and the gunplay and the fistfights and everything else. And I think it's been a really interesting adjacent, tangential turn, if you would, to what we've been doing before, because what we've been doing before works. People want to see high stakes, hardcore military, movies. And this opens it up a bit to a more general audience because there is some more laughs. The stakes are still high, but you can lean into gallows humor a little bit more and everything else too. So it's been a really interesting tonal shift. I think it's played really well for that reason. And, maybe we'll return to the more, self-righteous, sober, tone of things. And maybe we'll keep it going with Oliver kind of open it up and having 90 minutes of pure popcorn.
Well, I have a serious. Go for it, Izzy.
No, go ahead. No, it's okay.
I was going to ask him a serious question here.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Do it.
Yeah. Do you have Allstate insurance now after working with Dennis Haysbert?
Don't tell Dennis Haysbert. I've been a State Farm guy for 25 years. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to get fired. Yeah, you're referencing Dennis Haysbert, who's been the Colonel, who's kind of recurred throughout our franchise, and now the last two movies he played really prominently as kind of the leader of the Grit Squad, and putting together this kind of little all-star team that he has. So, he's famously known not only as the president from 24, but also the deep resonating booming voice of Allstate.
Yeah, that's Allstate, Stan. I remember watching Sniper. I just watched Sniper Legacy, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah,
it's a State Farm guy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure he wants to let that die and focus on the progression of his career. But I thought that was a fun thing. But let me ask you: working with Tom Berenger, he's kind of a legend in his circle. Was there any fun moments or memories working with him that kind of stuck out to you that you'll look back on and be like, hell yeah, kind of in a way?
Oh man, I've been so fortunate, because to work with veteran actors like that, Oscar nominated, Emmy nominated, who's, and I'm like you, like I grew up, I remember watching the Sniper film, the original one on TBS, cable, when we first got cable, finally in like the mid to late 90s. And I remember just the opening sequence of Tom Berenger's character in a ghillie suit kind of emerging from the foliage, and you didn't even know he was there as a chopper comes and for an exfil and blows all the foliage around, and he kind of appears there and does kind of like a hero walk to the chopper. And like, I loved that movie growing up. So it was very surreal for me to, so many years later, get a chance to kind of play his son and kind of usher in a new era of sniper films. But I've always loved working with Tom, as a young actor who has everything to learn and not nearly as accomplished, to not pick someone like that's brains is just an absolute wasted opportunity. And I've been really fortunate between him, Billy Zane, obviously Dennis Haysbert has been doing this for a really long time. I've been huge fans of those guys well before, acting wasn't even a twinkle in my eye. And so it's really been a pleasure. I just love hearing Tom's stories, everything from Major League to The Big Chill to Platoon, This guy's resume reads incredibly. Even like Hatfields and McCoys. I remember having a great conversation when he did the Emmy winning miniseries with Kevin Costner. And so it's been a real opportunity. I've had many moments where in the hotel bar, wherever we're staying, we'll get a cocktail and I'll just listen to his stories, because he's got amazing ones, especially filming the first Sniper down in Panama with Billy Zane. So it's a real treat. And, as an actor who really wants to learn, you can learn so much by osmosis, just watching them do their work, in addition to playing scenes off of them as well. So it's a great opportunity. I've tried to milk that for everything that it's worth, because it's free acting school, quite honestly.
That's awesome, man. Now, I know we're talking about the Sniper films, and maybe we got to do a whole episode about this later, but how did you come into the role of Alex Keller for the Call of Duty Modern Warfare series? Because that's like, we want to talk about being in a legacy, I'm a part of a legacy. I was in the military, but you are a part of the Call of Duty legacy.
Yeah, I'm a part of the pretend soldier legacy. It's not lost on me. It's a much more prestigious legacy to be a part of, which you guys live and breathe. But it's an honor and a blessing to be able to represent the pretend version of that people enjoy for entertainment. And but yeah, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I remember playing PlayStation 2 or whatever it was, the original Call of Duty trilogy, which was like 2007 all the way through like 2011, 13, which were just unbelievably, to this day, highly regarded, video games in that first person shooter franchise. And, they did a reboot for those that don't know or don't play. I think literally everybody knows or plays. It's like Call of Duty is to video games, like Star Wars is to, like sci-fi. It's just so ubiquitous and so big. It's hard to wrap your head around it. I remember playing those, and it was a video game audition, and you can kind of put your clues together based on who the casting director was, where you're going to do the audition. You can okay, this could be maybe one of these games, but they're never going to tell you. It's very NDA protected because leaks are real on the internet. So it's a need to know basis type of adventure. But I remember when I auditioned and I got the part. It was then revealed to me, like on the first day of getting together with the cast, that this was going to be a Call of Duty Modern Warfare, soft reboot in 2019. So I got to film that, and Alex was an original character that was one of the leads, if not the main lead in Call of Duty, 2019 Modern Warfare 2019. So it was really great. It was an amazing experience for me because they had a sweet spot. They brought some of the old characters that were loved, like Captain Price, Gaz. Kyle Garrick and so many other ones. Nikolai, the Russian kind of guy from the A-Team that flies all the choppers and drives all the vehicles and takes care of all that stuff. So it was nice. It was a nice blend of original characters, but also bringing back some of the fan favorites and reimagining them. But the pressure's off when you get to originate something. It's a lot harder to try to bring Captain Price, a beloved character, back to life. And I thought Barry Sloan, who still does that to this day, is absolutely fantastic in his interpretation of Captain Price, putting a modern spin on him. So it was great, but it was an audition like any other. I didn't know exactly what the project was or what it was going to be. It was like 6 weeks after the audition. I didn't hear anything. And it just, you move up, compartmentalize, you move on. I was like, oh, it's a no. If you don't hear, it's a no. You only hear when it's a yes. So to get that call and then to learn it was a Modern Warfare reboot was, we were all kids at the candy store as we filmed that. But, Alex Keller, for those that haven't played, and I don't mean to have too many spoilers, he kind of sacrifices himself to the cause of freedom fighters that he aligns himself with. And you think that's the last you ever see to him. But in the ongoing, Warzone DLC content, it was revealed that Alex did survive. He did lose a leg in the factory explosion that he sacrificed himself in. But he's still part of the team, and he's still fighting the good fight. And he's back on the front lines. And Modern Warfare 3 was just released on November 10th. So anytime your character survives, the possibility to come back for more is chef's kiss. It's an actor's dream.
Yes.
What's that like working on the what is it, the void with what's it like doing motion capture for all that kind of stuff?
Oh, the volume, yes.
Yeah, the volume.
That's what it's called I had to learn all these terms too.
Yeah, right.
Because I hadn't done a lot of mocap up until that stage, but the technology is absolutely unreal. It's so photorealistic. You're really playing and watching an interactive movie. which I think is why, the fans and gamers get so invested in these characters, because you're strapping in and you're dropping in as these guys and these first person experiences, and you have agency, you get to choose what they do. And it's your fault if you get them killed. So it's really an attachment there that's unlike, cheering for Thor or Captain America. And it just kind of blows you away. But it's a full motion capture, to your point, motion capture, performance capture, face capture, voice, everything. It is our unique faces. I got a beautiful mustache, digital mustache,
that
which I love,
little soul
because I
patch
can't
thing in
really
the
rock.
mustache. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
It's
follically
real
gifted.
handsome. As my grandmother would say, it's real Tom Selleck handsome. So
Oh, yeah.
Alex and his mustache I'm grateful for it. But we're in these spandex suits, with these helmet rigs that kind of take an extreme close up of your face at all time while cameras surround you. And it's I heard Barry Sloan, who plays Captain Price, he described it as, it's kind of like doing a stage play theater, and it's like broad scope, but it's also like being filmed in an extreme close up at all times, for the micro expressions and everything that the technology really helps shine through. So it's a wonderful experience. I really enjoy the motion capture work, but it really is playing in a sandbox. There's not much there. They can put some Apple boxes here and put some PVC, piping here and a mini platform here to represent a chopper you got to step into. But everything else is pure imagination, outside of like some crude visuals that they can kind of give you a preview of, called a pre-visualization. It's not the finished product, but it's like, all right, there's a tanker here. This is the chopper here. Make sure to duck. Don't put your hand through the damn ceiling. Come on, which isn't there. So it's really playing in your imagination a lot, which I think is really, really quite a fun exploration as an actor.
So when you were playing Beckett, right, as a Marine scout sniper, obviously being exposed to like all long range shooting and sniper antics, if you will, did you take anything with you in your civilian life? Like, did you get any hobbies like long range shooting while doing the sniper movies? Or were you like, this is kind of just a role for me, this is fun to do, but I'm gonna go back and max my character and raid some dungeons?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much crossover there. In a practical sense, there's always, tchotchkes and little keepsakes that I grab from set, whether it's a sniper movie or anything else too. And, I've got some fun little shadow boxes that I've kind of put together from the original Sniper Reloaded. I saved some shells. I don't know how I got these back in the United States. I shaved so many, like, bags of shells from all the various weapons that we fired. And I'm like, this could have really ended poorly for me,
Oh,
flying from
trust me.
South Africa all the way back to the U.S. with all these, shells, that we fired off all throughout the movie. But the unique dog tags they made for you, and some of the patches and stuff from the uniform that I ripped off and kind of
Oh, that's cool,
kept
man.
from
Little
the
mementos,
costume
yeah.
department. Yeah, and
That's
so
sweet.
speaking strictly from that sort of experience, there's always something that I always try to kind of take home as sort of a keepsake and a memory. But what's nice about being an actor is the film itself it kind of serves as a permanent video journal of your entire experience, because like, oh, I remember that location that day. I remember what it was like to work with that actor. I remember that, it started pouring or it started snowing, or, a giraffe came and knocked over our lights that day in South Africa. So watching the movie back is always a really fun walk down memory lane, because you've got a video journal, like a vlog, I suppose, in the back of your head, remembering those beautiful days and locations and the people you got to know and to work with.
Wait,
Well, sweet,
speaking
man.
of people you've worked with, I have to ask, because when I was like 2-3 years old, I watched Tron. And it's like, that was one of the things that like blew my mind as a little kid. It kind of set me on the path to liking fantasy and sci-fi. And I know that you were in Legion of the Dead in 2005, starring
Yeah.
Bruce Boxleitner.
Yeah.
And I just want to know, did you get to meet him? Like, I don't know if you're into the Tron franchise or at all, but I just wanted to know if you like, what was it like working with Bruce Boxleitner, with Tron himself?
Man. I mean, you went deep in the archives. I think Legion of the Dead was literally the first time I ever stepped foot on a set.
Oh,
And for
wow.
those that don't know, because I mean, they couldn't be more famous now, is the company that does those mockbuster movies, where it's a
Asylum?
really it's like a really Xylem, it's the
Yeah.
Sharknado franchise and
Yeah.
everything else too, where they kind of find the big blockbuster movies that are coming out, and they put together a super low budget version of that for people. And a lot of them used to air on like Sci-Fi, TV network and everything else too. But it was the first opportunity I ever had. It was a non-union film. I think it was paid like $15-20 a day. Just showing up on set, green as can be. I think I maybe had like 3 acting classes under my belt total, and they're just like, all right, here's your mark, here's the frame. Like, I don't know what any of that means. What is a mark? Frame of what? Like, I'm not sure. So it was a real baptism by fire, and I was really grateful for the opportunity. It was Legion of the Dead. It was kind of a mockbuster of the Brendan Fraser mummy movies.
Okay, cool.
I remember working with Zach. I always mispronounce his last name, but he was the star of Gremlins when he was younger, but he was in our movie, and so was Bruce Boxleitner. But I didn't get to work with Bruce as much on that movie. I think he had a different like B story on that.
Okay, all right, yeah. Sometimes they get the big name actor, and they get him for like 2-3 days just so they can put him on the box art, and then they get him out. They shoot him out, and then he's done.
That's the business model. Yeah, for sure.
That's funny. You and I have both appeared in Asylum Pictures because I am in a couple of frames of Shark Week.
Fantastic!
Yeah. We're pretty much best friends at this point. So.
You haven't cut your teeth unless you've done an island film. I mean, I can't tell you how many careers those guys, launched. Cheers to them.
Yeah. It's a good business model.
Mm-hmm.
All right, one more nerd question for me. Okay, international superstar Chad Michael Collins has all the money in the world, and he can buy the film rights to any game franchise. What game franchise would you love to translate into a movie or an HBO miniseries? Because I know sometimes these stories you can't put it into 2 hours.
Yeah.
What would you like to translate and then star in, if you could?
Oh man, that's a great question. So many great video games over the years, and so many have been made. Even Warcraft got the big screen treatment.
Yeah,
and
sometimes not for the better. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dungeons and Dragons, they finally got their big movie that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So they're having their time in the sun, deservedly so.
Yeah.
I would go Contra.
Yeah.
It's staying in the lane of what I love to do, which is play a pretend soldier. And Contra is my all-time favorite side scroller. Actually, I stream a little bit on Twitch, and once in a while I'll dip into the retro game archive and kind of give people that 8-bit experience before things got so complicated with 32 friggin' buttons. There was just an A, B, and a directional pad, and that's what I grew up on. So educating the youngins to what the 8-bit side scrolling was like back in the day. So I just did a recent stream playing Super C, which is the Nintendo sequel to Contra that I'd never played before. I never owned that as a kid, but I loved Contra. I could play it. I didn't need the Konami code. I got so good at that game that I could just take it straight all the way through, and I proved that on a stream recently.
All right,
talk. So I would love to see a live action Contra, but I feel like take any '80s movie. And that's basically a Contra movie, whether it's Arnie and Sly kind of doing their thing, Predator sort of in that same vein.
Check out Blazing Chrome if you ever get on Steam. Blazing Chrome is basically an homage to all of those Contra movies, or those Contra video games, rather.
Really?
It's side-scrolling. It looks like 16-bit, like Super Nintendo era.
Oh, cool.
And it's really fun. It's like very lighthearted, kind of campy, but it's very much paying homage to the Contra genre.
Oh, that's fun.
Games. Yeah.
That's really fun. Another game that I loved that was just very wholesome, and you could see this being a PG-13 game, is one of the more prized RPGs out of this Super Nintendo era was Secret of Mana. Which was 3-person kind of co-op, sort of very like Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past sort of feel to it, but really cool elements of magic and elements and stuff like that as well. So I always really like playing through that one again. I just played through it again recently, but Zelda's having, animated movies. Obviously, Mario franchise has kind of taken off. People know what they're doing. They're snatching up those video game IPs as much as they can. So
fingers crossed for that Zelda movie. I think they're talking about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that'd be a treat.
Oh, man, that's a real
cast.
One. Yeah,
Who
that's
would
the thing,
you cast to play Zelda?
Probably Timothée Chalamet, because he's in everything these days.
Yeah, he's kind of a little impish. I could see that going down. Oh man, that's a tough one. Maybe a Tom Holland.
Tom
Tom. I
Holland.
was
Holland.
thinking, Timothy
Over the side.
Chalamet. That would probably be the best cast. He even looks like an elf,
Yeah. He's just
Very
got those
true.
dead eyes, man. He's just, that's just my opinion.
Well, Chad, we like to get a fan question from one of our listeners. They usually ask Izzy and I a question, but I think we can, give this one to you because I think it's more appropriate. But what are some of your favorite action movies? Can't name Sniper, obviously, because we know that's number one, apparently.
That stands alone.
Yeah, that stands alone. And then additionally, on the back end, what are some of your favorite actors who inspire you, like that got you going, or that you go back to and kind of draw inspiration from?
Let's see. Favorite action movies. I mean, my all-time favorite movie is Braveheart. I just that left such an indelible impression upon me when in like 95, 94, 95 when
Yeah.
that came out. Just seeing that, in my early high school days.
Mhm.
I love that movie. I love the medieval stuff, fantasy medieval stuff as well, which speaks to my, my gaming habits. But Gladiator is another one. If you're talking kind of modern age, oh my God. I mean, I watched them all, man. Everything from Tango and Cash to Cobra to,
Yeah.
I literally like Roadhouse. I mean, really,
Roadhouse is great.
I remember watching all of them. I mean, I never grew up with cable. And so when I got cable, when I was finally like in high school in my small town that I grew up in, like I was just like glued to like USA, TNT, TBS, catching up on all these slightly watered down action movies that I never had a chance to see. And, going to the video store and getting the VHSs of all this sort of stuff. But, big fan of the Arnold movies. I remember watching a lot of Chuck Norris movies, back in the 80s as well.
Nice.
And seeing a lot of Berenger's movies, everything from Platoon to
Platoon's awesome.
these other films that he was a part of too, the original Sniper included. So it's hard to kind of narrow them down from that era. There were so damn many in terms of that sort of stuff. But Braveheart
Almost
is my
an unfair
all-time
question.
favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to say
So,
just
but
one or two.
yeah, and to answer the other part of your question, I really, in the modern day and age, I've always loved Brad Pitt's work. Fight Club's one of my favorite movies. And that's kind of when he really started to show a different side of what he could bring, as an actor. And I've always thought he's just been a wonderful actor through and through. I enjoy everybody from Michael Fassbender to, even the stuff that, Matt Damon's always been able to do, throughout his career. I know those are pretty obvious choices, but there's a reason why they've had the staying power, right? And, I mean, look, Days of Thunder, Top Gun, Tom Cruise has always been an actor. I've always, seen all his movies. Bruce Willis, as well, always left an indelible impression with the lethal, sorry, not Lethal Weapons, but Die Hard, the Die Hard franchise. And then of course, movies like Hudson Hawk, like I'd seen, Last Boy Scout. I remember so many Bruce Willis movies, and, he just had that great everyman appeal to him across the board, which made his star rise so quickly when he finally turned to film. So, those are there's just so many. I think if I could just kind of distill it down, it's like I'm an actor. I'm not Juilliard trained. I'm always trying to learn and study from people so much better than me, and I also know that it's no one's intention to make a bad movie, and it's so hard to make a movie at any budget level. I mean, you would not believe the all hands on deck approach and the fires you have to constantly put out and adjust for, and so many personalities and so many moving parts to this sort of stuff. So it's hard for me to be a critic. Even if a movie, is panned and called a turd by everyone else in the world, I'm like, yeah, but that part was good. And like, yeah, but they don't understand. They didn't have that kind of money, So it's like, for me,
glass half full guy for sure.
There's a great deal of empathy, and straight up sympathy sometimes for, the hard part of filmmaking in general. So, a lot of actors and a lot of movies get a huge pass for me because I know how hard it is to do, having experience. So I try to keep, the critical stuff out of it because I know everyone truly is doing their best with sometimes just absolutely ridiculous circumstances.
Unless you're Steven
But if you're asking someone to pay $15 for it, then they get to have their opinion, right? That's what you're putting out there.
Fair.
Exactly.
Well, Chad, we have come to probably a lot of people's favorite part of the show. At the end of every episode, we always play a little game, some sort of like trivia kind of thing. And so this game is for you. This game is called One Shot, One Skill.
Ooh,
I'm going to give you the name of someone that has been in a Sniper franchise movie, and you will have to tell me what a fun fact about them is. And don't worry, I will give you multiple choice. So I'm going to give you some options of some of the actors that have been in the franchise with you, and then you'll try to guess which one is they're actually into, which hobby or whatever.
I'm ready for this.
All right, I'll give you the first. We'll go back and forth, Cameron. I'll there's 4 of these.
Okay.
And then I'll do the first one. So
we'll find out how many cocktails you sat out at the hotel bar and really got to know these.
All right. This first one is: which war does Tom Berenger research and collect items for? Is it A, the Spanish-American War, B, the Vietnam War, or C, the Civil War?
My God, Tom in real life? Oh man. God,
IRL, my friend.
He is such a military buff. You would not believe the wealth of knowledge Tom has about these things. And oh man, I'm gonna go Civil War.
That is correct. It's the Civil War. You are correct. Wasn't he in Gods and Generals or something like that? Or Gettysburg?
I don't know that
I'd have to look that up.
Maybe.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I know
seeing
that I remember that movie with Stephen Lang played Stonewall Jackson. And he had that rousing speech, and he's like, "We shall give them the bayonet." And I was like, "Oh, that's such a great line! What a great line!"
Yeah, it's a very Tom Berenger line to say. Awesome. Okay, well, you got that one, so that's awesome. Moving right along. Next question for you: what genre of art does Billy Zane paint? Is it A? Oh, you're shaking like you're ready to know this. You must talk about it.
Oh, I know he paints.
Okay.
I painted with him.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah.
Nice. All right. So we'll see if you guys painted a specific one. So does Billy Zane like to paint landscapes, abstract expressionisms, or pop art?
I don't even know how those the B and C choices break down in terms of artistically explaining what the hell they are. But I have painted alongside Billy. He's almost always had art supplies. I mean, just a fun kind of like Easter egg for you guys. When we were in South Africa, we were about an hour south of Johannesburg because we did a lot of shooting on reserves, and so we were outdoors a lot and on location. And, we kind of got put up in this little mini McMansion sort of thing, and his room was right next to mine. We had sort of separate balconies in this big, beautiful house overlooking a lake. And I'd come out in the morning, and he would have his easel, and he would have his paints, and he would be there, kind of doing his thing with his palette and everything else too. And I think you'd call it abstract expressionism. But I'm certainly no art history major. So it's abstract. I just remember painting with him. And he's like, "Yeah, you just got to feel it and just put it out there." And I'm like, "It's about as abstract as you can get, I suppose."
Well, you are absolutely correct. It is indeed abstract expressionism.
This
Damn,
stuff is
you're
cool.
killing it, man. Yeah,
he's putting stuff in galleries all the time. He's been doing it a long time. I think Billy's stuff is really, really cool, and it speaks to what a unique individual he is. I love working with Billy. He's one of the most charismatic, funny guys you could possibly work with.
That's so cool, man. I love hearing about the little things that actors are into, because they kind of in pop culture they kind of are put in this place one dimensionally that they're an actor who acts, and right. then you find out that Billy Zane is into abstract expressionism. You'll be like, I would have never thought that. Well, why not? why not? Why can't he be into painting?
I mean, I'm looking at some of these paintings, and oh yeah, these are abstract. They're awesome though. I can see that hanging on my wall.
Nice. All right, I'm going to give you question number 3. This question is: what instrument does Bokeem Woodbine play? Does he play the guitar, the flute, or the harp?
This is a trick question. It's D. Glockenspiel. No, I'm kidding. Didgeridoo. I don't know. I know Bokeem started in I think it was Sniper 2. with Tom.
Yes.
Or maybe it was 3. I don't know, but I remember that Tom did, Sniper, Sniper 2, Sniper 3, and then that's when they kind of had a hiatus for like 8 to 10 years. So I know that Bokeem was in one of those original, the second or third one. I never had the pleasure of working with him. Of course,
Okay.
I've been a big fan, and I watched that movie. But in terms of the instrument, it was, I'm sorry, it was guitar, flute, and what else?
Harp. Which one of those 3?
I'm gonna go with harp. Dear Lord, could you imagine? I kind of want to guess harp because I think that'd be super interesting. But I'm going to go with guitar. Seems like the easiest instrument you can pick up and lug around with you.
The odds were in your favor. It is guitar. Yeah, you're correct. Yeah. So yeah, that's probably the easiest one because who plays the harp anymore?
I don't know. I've never seen a harp player my whole life. I don't think
they're very big as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, you couldn't lug that around. That's like a stationary instrument.
They got the small ones,
Yeah, those little smaller ones. Okay, last question for you. You're going 3 for 3. Let's see if we can get it 4 for 4. What position did Dennis Haysbert play on his high school football team? Was it quarterback, defensive end, or running back? I mean, he's a pretty big guy, so.
Oh Lordy, I love Dennis, and he's another actor that I just love talking to and hanging out with and hearing stories about. But because I know he was a really high level athlete for a long time, and I don't remember. I'm going to say running back. He has such a Jim Brown quality to him that I imagine he was just railroading people. But yeah, the quarterback because you can also run and toss the ball. That's tough. Let's go first instinct. I'll go running back.
Ooh. Almost there. He was a defensive end,
really?
Allegedly, according to our producer, Chris.
Yes, Chris is the one who came up with the game, so.
That makes sense too. I mean, he's tall. He's got good arm length. He can shed blockers, go dip and rip, swim move. I can see Dennis doing that. Actually, Dennis comes from an era where the Deacon Jones head slap was probably used a lot before they kind of outlawed that. He was at Los Angeles Rams. Deacon Jones giving linemen concussions and bull rushing them. The head slap. I like to think Dennis is nicer than that, though.
He's a little nicer guy, slaps. More considerate of.
Maybe not back in high school. I don't know. Maybe he was a monster back then.
Well, if he concusses him, he can just sell him insurance now. It's
there you go.
That's awesome.
I wonder if he's gotten like free Allstate insurance for life.
That'd be better.
That'd be a cool deal. So. Yeah, I would hope so. Well, that is the last question. You did great. Got them all except for one, but the last one was kind of a zinger. But all in all, great job, buddy.
I'll take 75%. What is that, a C?
Yeah,
C.
Yeah,
C's get degrees.
The refrigerator in my parents' home, but it's still a pass. I get on to the next grade.
Yeah, there you go, buddy.
Well, that is it. You've made it through all the way to the end, Chad. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we let you go, tell us if you want to shout out anything, if you want to tell people where to find you, whatever you want to talk about, say about yourself for the people, all the people out there.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the opportunity to rap with y'all. Obviously, Sniper Grit is a movie we released at the end of September. VOD, DVD just came out. So you can go and pick that up on Amazon or any of the digital platforms that you want to rent or buy from. Hopefully we have a second window release on a streamer, and I don't have anything to say about that yet, but I'll certainly put it out there when we can. But it's the 10th installment, 7-1 I've been fortunate enough to play the lead in as Brandon Beckett. So, check it out. It's a lot of fun and really great stuff. And of course, if you don't already, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 came out on November 10th. And so pick that up and see what the old Task Force 141 and Alex Keller get up to in this one. And, and I always stream on Twitch a couple times a week, mostly playing Call of Duty Warzone with some buddies and kind of dropping into the multiplayer battle royale component of that stuff. And come for the laughs, don't come for the gameplay. They're not going to blow you away like one of these pros out there, but we do have fun, and I do get to answer some really fun questions about my co-stars and filming and stuff like that too. So, those are the plugs, and I appreciate the opportunity to spread the love about the projects I'm lucky to do.
That's awesome, Chad. Thank you so much, brother.
You too, guys. A pleasure.
All right. Well, folks, thanks for coming to the end of the Pop Culture Field Manual podcast. Special thank you to our guest, Chad. We had an awesome time learning about the Sniper franchise and Call of Duty. So, again, thank you for being here. Folks, if you enjoyed this one, make sure you are checking us out on Instagram, subscribe to the YouTube channel, check out our Patreon if you want exclusive content. And all in all, we hope you just have an amazing day until next week's episode. So, with that, Izzy,
Oh, one more thing. Bonus content on YouTube. Go and check out our YouTube page. We got the first formation, a couple of the things in pop culture that I'm excited for each week, and then Cameron wrapping up the week with some lighthearted or strange military news.
absolutely.
What's yours called? Mine's called the first formation, but I don't care about anything else.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, because you're very selfish. But yeah, we have the weekend safety brief coming at you hot and ready. So don't find your problems at the bottom of a bottle. And with that, cue music.